We'll open with the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's board meeting. At this time, I have no additions or amendments to the agenda as presented.
Motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Motion by Tim and a second by Brian. Any further discussion? If none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. To all community participation members, please be aware that Kimball School Board meetings are videotaped and loaded to the school webpage for the community's viewing at their convenience. Discussion on parameters may be requested. So item 3.1 on the agenda tonight, Ms. Bonneville, QComp annual report and proposed math curriculum purchase.
Well, good evening, and thanks for letting me be here. I'm here to give the annual required update on QComp. I have been giving an annual update on curriculum, and I have some data about PLCs, so I'm going to squeeze that in there too. So QComp was new this year. We just finished our first year, and for those that are not aware, QComp is an opportunity for licensed staff members to earn additional compensation through performance-based goals. So you can see the several areas where teachers were able to earn additional compensation. So $300 for the buildings meeting a building-wide goal, and those goals were set by the principal. $200 for a goal written by the teacher, a student learning goal, and that would be something that's data-driven. It might be something like 80% of my students will attain this percentage on some assessment. $500 for participating in 3 observations, and that's with a peer coach. $160 for reflecting on those observations and in writing, and then $200 for writing and reflection of their individual professional development plan. And that might be a goal such as, I want to do a better job of communicating with parents, and I will communicate via this method this many times per year. So I will let you know that our building goals were not met. So the most this year that a teacher was able to earn is $1,060. And I would say about 80% of teachers earned that full amount. Some teachers did not earn the full amount. One teacher chose not to participate in the peer observations. Several teachers did not meet that second one down, the student learning goal. So there might be an idea out there that QComp is easy money and all teachers get the full amount, and that did not happen in our district. So who does the work? There are these positions that do the work. There's an advisor, a high school building lead, an elementary building lead, there are peer coaches, and there are PLC leaders. So they are paid a stipend for their work. So this year had some ups and downs as our first year. Some good things. Peer observations, teachers really liked the peer observations. They liked that they got good feedback in a short amount of time. They also actually liked that student learning goal, and that was fun to go through that process. They liked having a goal that was data-driven, and then in order to say that they achieved the goal, they had to prove that they had to show evidence that they achieved that. Some things that need to be improved. The MDE doesn't really pay on time all the time, or it's not really clear when the money's going to come through, so that was a bit of a headache this year. And then overall, the paperwork just needs to be streamlined. So what's next? We will continue to do QComp again next year, and the program changes have been submitted to MDE, and there's nothing saying that they aren't going to let us proceed next year. So overall, it worked well. Any questions on QComp?
Was it a successful motivator in your opinion, or an incentive, if you will? Was it effective? It looks like 80% is a pretty good number.
So going back to these, you can see that there's a lot of time for reflection, and that seemed to be very powerful for teachers to, instead of just go through the motions, have an opportunity to reflect on what they did and reflect on improvements to be made. So yeah, the feedback from teachers was that this was definitely worth our time.
Thank you.
So PLCs, just really quick, we've been talking about them for several years, and I just have some data to share with you. First of all, what are they? We meet as a district for 30 minutes on Thursday mornings, 7:30 to 8. All teachers are expected to participate. They are led by a trained PLC leader. The leadership team gets together a few times throughout the year just to make sure we're all on the same page. So I have done a few surveys about PLCs, and this question, how effective has the PLC time been for you this year? So you can see the difference between 2015 and 17. The next question, this year, do you feel that you are growing as a professional because of your PLC? And I was really happy with this, that nobody said no, so everybody agreed that it was worth their time. And then there might be this idea that teachers just sit around and chit chat for 30 minutes every week during this time, and that's not, it's not true. This happens to be my PLC, and we meet in the fax room. When I asked teachers, what do you do during your PLC time? This is some of the feedback. So we created consistent assessments for reading across the grade level. We are learning from each other's experiences and practices, and it helps to take a critical look at the curriculum and see where the holes are. We also discuss ways to teach the curriculum so students get the most out of it. So this is definitely a good use of our district time. So, any questions about PLCs? We will continue to have PLCs in the future. The last one is curriculum. So this year our curriculum focus was on math, and we focused on math K-12. So generally the process works like this. In the fall, I sit down with the teams of teachers that are going to be working on this curriculum review, and we do a needs analysis. So do we even need to switch out our curriculum? What isn't working? What is currently working with our curriculum? So we identify that there is a need for new curriculum. This year we identified that there was a need at both the elementary and the high school. I researched many options and present those options to them, especially at the elementary this year. I presented them with programs that were very non-traditional programs, all the way to very traditional programs. So they look at all of those, we get back together and they talk about, well, this one, no way is this gonna work for our school, but this one would really work for our school. We kind of narrow it down, and then I bring in samples, I bring in the sales reps, and then this year I asked them to teach lessons out of both of the programs. They did that at the elementary and they did that at the high school. It's the first year that I've asked them to do that. It's very powerful and effective to do that. And then we collect quotes and a decision is made. So at the elementary, we are going to move forward with My Math by McGraw-Hill. It is an updated version of what we currently have. Our kindergarten is especially excited about this. They currently have a curriculum that was designed or bought when they had half-day kindergarten, so they've been operating off of a half of a program, so they're looking forward to having a full program. It is better aligned with our standards because our current curriculum was purchased before the Minnesota standards that we currently have were put into place. There is increased rigor, which means there still is the fact fluency, like how to do the math, but there is also increase in problem solving. The digital resources are great. At the elementary, these are consumable books. So every fall, we're gonna get a shipment of workbooks. There are no hard textbooks at the elementary. So they'll just continue to send those books for the next 6 years. At the high school, we chose Big Ideas Math, and we're really excited about this. This was a difficult decision, and the team was very torn between Glencoe Math and Big Ideas Math. Big Ideas was chosen because of its connection to the real world. It helps answer the question, why do I need to know how to do this? The concepts are broken into smaller chunks, so it's more manageable for students. This is powerful. Mr. Polsky had a class, and he had taught lessons out of both of the curriculums, and he had taught a lesson out of Big Ideas. And the next day, a student came into math and said, hey, Mr. Polsky, can we do the lesson out of that new curriculum again? And we felt like, well, that's a good indication that that's a good curriculum for these kids, at least for that kid. And something different with Big Ideas is that no names are used in the text. So it's when the students read a problem, it'll be something like, you and a friend are going to wherever. So some students get caught up on reading names that they're not familiar with, And so it just kind of helps just get rid of that. So it's taking out all references to names. The cost. So my math at the elementary is a little over 36,000, and Big Ideas 612 is almost 29,000. That is a big number, but please understand that that is not the number that I started with. There are lots of ways that I reduce these numbers. The first thing I did was reduce the number of student textbooks. For example, at the high school, we only ordered 30 books per grade. So the textbooks will be kept in the classroom, and students will be expected and asked to use their digital book outside of class. Of course, if they don't have access to technology outside of class, then they can take a book with them. But the teachers felt like that was going to be easy for students to do. I negotiated shipping costs, I negotiated per student costs, brought those down. At the elementary, we were supposed to purchase manipulative kits, several at every grade level. We did not. Instead, I went to the teachers and asked them, okay, this is what's in the kit, what do you really need? And so then I went to a different place and purchased all of that. And then with both programs, we could have ordered all kinds of extras, and we didn't. So the cost that you see here is just the basics. So that's the plan. Any questions on curriculum?
Cost this year compared to the cost that was last year?
So last year was high school English language arts, and I don't think my budget changed. This is the third year that it's been about the same.
Is this a traditional math, or is this like the new core math concepts?
So the Common Core, Minnesota did not adopt the Common Core standards in math, so this is based on the Minnesota math standards. So this is, I would say, pretty traditional math. Good question, because I hear that all the time. My kids are doing this stuff, I don't even know what they're doing. Any other questions? Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is Solarstone Solar presentation.
We have Gordy Simonton here and his crew to talk about solar gardens. We talked at the work session kind of what they are, we know about them, and have some pretty good background on it. Gordy's here to talk about their company and what they could provide as far as solar energy and the savings that would provide for the district if it's something we choose to move with and go with. So Gordy, the floor is yours.
True. Yeah, so I can drive it.
Sure.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, board members, and Mr. Wagner. Appreciate this opportunity tonight. My name is Gordy Simonton. I'm also joined by one of my associates, Jeff Birch. We are responsible for new business development. I want to say just right out of the gate here before I get started, first, this isn't death by PowerPoint, so it's going to probably take me about 10 minutes to move through. It's more informational than anything else. And I am also aware, since Jim filled me in, that I believe at one point you were left at the altar by another solar developer. And so I realize that part of my role here tonight is to make sure that you understand that we're sustainable and we have credibility in terms of not finding yourself in that same situation again. So is it this one here?
Mm-hmm. On the left click, I think it is. There you go.
Just a little bit about us. We're a solar-based development company headquartered in Minneapolis. Currently right now we have about 30 megawatts on Excel's grid since we started construction in 2016 with 8 projects. So 30 megawatts represents about a third of what's been put onto Excel's grid by developers like us. There's Geronimo is another facility. They've generated about 32 megawatts, and then the remaining 30 megawatts up to this point has been done by a myriad of different developers, smaller developers that are out there. So we're number 2 in the marketplace as far as doing that. To give you a point of reference, 1 megawatt of energy would probably sustain 250 homes for about a year. And then in 2015, we partnered with NRG Energy. They're a Fortune 200 company, and they are our finance and development partner. They infused into the marketplace about $200 million. So we had financing from the very beginning with all of our projects. And NRG is the largest independent energy producer in the country. They're steeped in solar and wind, and they are primarily on the east and the west coast. And when the state legislature mandated in 2013 that Xcel needed to put 1.5% of their energy produced from solar by 2020, that was an entree that NRG wanted to look at to get into the Midwest and have a footprint here as well. I should also point out too, we are the developer on this, so we do all the land acquisition, we do all the civil engineering, we do all of the permitting with the jurisdiction, and then once we reach that point, then NRG takes over the construction of it, and then we reach financial close with them, and then they will own, operate, and maintain these facilities for the life. Just to give you an idea, these are a couple locations. It's tough to see here in this light here, but this is our Pine Island location. It's just north of the city off of 52, and this is a 5 megawatt site. So they usually take up about 30 to 40 acres is typically the size. So these are utility scale projects that we're developing. This is our Farmington location. This is just south of town. That's the city limits right up there. Again, this is a 5 megawatt facility. We had a grand opening in May where Xcel and some state representatives came, as well as the customers that are on this, corporate customers that we have on this. And it was raining like you wouldn't believe, and cloudy. NRG had brought in their engineers and put a dashboard on the system. And even in those conditions with no direct sunlight, that facility was generating about 2.5 to 3 megawatts of power during that time. So you can imagine what happens when there's direct sunlight. It's obviously much greater than that. This is our Byron location. This is just west of Rochester, and it's on Highway 14. I like to show this one because it kind of gives you an idea of what the substrate and the frames look like that we put the panels on. And we also don't need to have just a pool table flat to do it. We can work on anything up to about a 10% grade. This is our Sartell location. Currently right now, of all the projects we have, this is the only project that we have any capacity left on. This would be the opportunity that the school district would have to participate on this. We currently have about 20% already subscribed up on this, so we've got 80% left that we need to do. This happens to be, this location will be on a retired wastewater treatment facility that was decommissioned in 1998. Nothing's been done with this land since that time. It's just been sitting there fallow. So the city will be our landlord on this, and we'll be paying them lease payments over 30 years. So we've been able to repurpose an area here that couldn't be used for anything else, and it's also generating income for the city. Oops. This is just to give you a snapshot here of what the facility would look like. The two squares up in the right-hand corner, those are two capped landfills that are inside of this area here. And so we can't use that for the solar fields, but the rest that you see in the blue, that's our design for the 5 megawatt site that would be going in up there. We have 16 projects in our portfolio. We have 15 of those have their conditional use or interim use permits from the jurisdiction approved. 12 of those have the interconnection agreements already from Xcel, so if we build a project and we can't connect to Xcel's grid, it doesn't do us any good. Our total portfolio is about 72 megawatts when we complete the build out here this year and next year. And to date, 67 megawatts are already subscribed up. So that's about 84% of our portfolio already has subscriptions, signed agreements at this point. Shovel-ready projects, these are projects that came online this year that I talked about that were at the 30 megawatts. The one that you're probably would be the most familiar with is Big Lake. That facility is on County Road 25 between Big Lake and Monticello. And then we've got our third tranche of construction. It's going to start this year. We've got 8 remaining locations to do. Sartell, as I pointed out earlier, is a 5 megawatt in Stearns County. And we have capacity available on that. We also, our Big Lake site in Sherburne, that's sold out. So we no longer have any capacity available on that. Just to give you an idea how it works quickly, the sun hits those panels and the electrons get all excited and create DC energy. And then on site we have inverters that take and convert that DC energy to AC. And then we have virtual meters that are also on site that measure the power that comes off of there that both we and Excel can monitor, and then that power goes directly into their grid. In this program, all the power that's going in is homogenized, so there's not an opportunity. We're not asking you to unplug from one resource and into another. This is all going directly into Excel's grid. And then the framework for the program, as I mentioned, we're delivering that energy to Excel. And then the only real difference that you would see, since we're not asking you to unplug from one resource to another, is the billing mechanism. And you would still be receiving your invoices from Excel, but in addition to that, there would be bill credits that would be on there. There's an enhanced bill credit at 2 cents, and that's where the savings come in. And we've shared with Jim pro forma to kind of show what those savings would be over a 25-year period of time. And then there's a contract that you would sign between us, and in this point it would be NRG, and you would be receiving a monthly invoice from them for the solar rate. The framework for it, I think we were awarded in December of 2015 the Met Council RFP, and what that allowed us to do was to be able to go out to their members and provide this where we could support them with our gardens. We probably spent about 3 to 4 months with their procurement group and their legal group negotiating a balanced contract. And when we were completed with that, then we took this program out. The classic Met Council contract is our rate would escalate each year at 1%, and the starting rate for our per kilowatt rate would be 12.5 cents. It's a 25-year contract. I should point out that in 2017, this year, the PUC approved a 4.7% increase for Excel, and then just recently here they announced in the paper that in 2018 they're going to be increasing their rates over 3 years 8.3%, so that's like a 2.8%. So I can show you in this next slide. This is what Excel's rates have done in the last 12 years. They've averaged about a 4.5% increase. So how this all gets played out with our pro forma and our business model is our rate would increase at 1% each year, and Excel's bill credits and their rates would increase, if you went with this average here, 4.5. So that's going to continue to escalate, as ours is going to be on a slower ramp, and that delta there is the difference on where you get the cost savings from us. And in the last 20 years, this is on their website, their average increase has been about 3%. This is our subscription activity. These are signed contracts. Almost all of these are with the Met Council. I'll point out that we currently have subscribed up the city of Big Lake on the Sartell site, as well as the city of Sartell. And we're just in the final contract stages with the city of Spicer for the same location. So you can see we've got at least in the Twin Cities anyway, a pretty impressive communities that we have that are already subscribing to it. The city of Maple Grove and Minnetonka are primarily are our anchor tenants on the Big Lake facility. So you can participate in a solar garden if it's in the community that you're located or an adjacent community. So that's how they were able to do that. From a county standpoint, these are the counties that we have on our roster. We're working with Stearns County, or trying to anyway, to see if they would have some interest in this too, so we're in the early stages of that. From an academic standpoint, St. Olaf, Wabasha School District, St. Mary's University, and the Winona School District are all subscribers with us. And then from a corporate standpoint, you can see the list here, and we're in the final contract stages with Becker Furniture in Becker. Sequence of events, this is my second to last slide. We've already gone through this process. Jim's already given us this information to allow us to put together a 25-year pro forma. So we've got the data privacy form and all that information back. And we've also provided Jim with the financial analysis to show what the savings would be with this scenario. And we haven't gone the next step though with the Met Council subscription contract. Typically, what we see with that is we would recommend that you have legal take a look at it. But for the most part, because of all the vetting that was done beforehand with the Met Council, we've had relatively minor changes to that contract in those cases. And then the last thing that we look for And it doesn't make any difference whether it's Ecolab or whether it's a resident. They have to go through a credit review process for this too. So we ask for that. We can either get 3 years of audited financials, or if you have a credit rating, we'll take that too. And then we would take and submit that application to Excel so that they can review that and accept that application for your subscription. And then just closing remarks, like I mentioned before, we're not asking you to change out, your electrical supply will stay the same. There is also no upfront capital or operating expense or maintenance fees over the period of time. Some ask why a 25-year contract. The facility itself in Sartell is probably going to be about a $12 to $13 million investment by the financiers. They're not asking for anything up front. The only thing they're asking for is a 25-year contract and a commitment during that period so that they can get their investment back. All 16 projects are financed. 95% of our projects have CUP or IUP approval. 80% have approval from Excel for the interconnection. And NRG will own, maintain, and operate these facilities when we reach financial close. So we look at this as an opportunity to take a leadership position to the solarization of Minnesota. And that concludes my comments, and I'd be happy to field any questions you might have.
What farm would this be, or garden would this be a part of, and are you working with the city of Kimball? What's the rest of this mixture look like?
Well, this garden is in Sartell. So the city is the landlord, and we're paying them the lease. We're gonna start construction on that next month. So we actually have to go through a process of, since they built these ponds to hold water, we have to go through a process to de-water it so we can start construction. And then we have to build permanent drainage to keep that out there. But I think you were asking about the city of Kimball as well? Yeah, I made a presentation to the city of Kimball probably about 60 days ago, and they've accepted that. One of the things that we're working with them on at this point is they have some property that's over by their wastewater treatment facility. It's about 160 acres, I believe. So they're interested in us if we had any interest in coming in and putting in a facility there for them. It wouldn't be for them to use. It would still be under the Solar Garden program. But at this time, that's the only thing you can build now are 1 megawatt sites. The PUC and Excel won't allow any developers to build anything bigger than that. I would also add that what I'm talking about with the 2-cent bill credit, that's what they refer to as an enhanced bill credit. That is going away as well. So our applications went in September of 2015. So those bill credits, the enhanced bill credits, are grandfathered in. Once all of these gardens are filled up to capacity, whether it's us or somebody else, those enhanced bill credits are going to go away. And the reason I say that is last summer I was in a meeting. It was actually Wright County was in a moratorium, and they invited us to come in and be part of the task force, and they also invited Excel to come in as well. And one of the questions that one of the commissioners asked was, where are you guys in your goal of meeting your 1.5% production by 2020? And Excel let them know that by the end of 2017, with what they're doing with their solar farms and what developers like us are doing, they will have reached their goal. So they're 3 years ahead of schedule. Well, this past fall, they went to the PUC and said, we don't see any reason why these gardens need to be any bigger than 1 megawatt. And we also don't think that the enhanced bill credits out there, they're too lucrative any longer. We don't need that. This program's done what it's designed to do. After these 16 projects are done, we're not pursuing anything larger. If it's a 1 megawatt site, we're not actively out pursuing any of those unless something gets brought to us. So there's actually, Illinois has just started a similar program where their state legislature is putting in the same type of mandates. There's only 5 states in the US where the state legislatures mandated that the public utility needs to do renewable energy. So it's Washington, California, Colorado, Minnesota, and Delaware. So there's another 45 states out there that haven't even gotten started. So we're just working right now. They're supposed to be coming out here by the end of the month with what the framework looks like. for that program in Illinois. But that looks like something that we would probably be entering in there to get started on that. But it's mirroring, from what we can tell, very closely what happened here. So it's been a big success for Excel and also for other developers coming in here. It's been warmly received. I would be less than honest with you. I told you if we just came out with a program that just talked about being green and quality of life, that it wouldn't be anywhere where it is today. It's the combination of doing the right thing and getting a financial reward for it that's provided all the punch.
Any other questions?
What's the estimated savings over the 25-year contract period?
It was just shy of $1 million, like 970,000, I believe it was.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's progressive, it's a little less the first couple of years and that.
That's
grows.
that's exactly right. Yeah, what happens is the beauty of this program is if you were starting at 12.5 and it's a 1% escalator, you'll know at the end of 25 years, you can look and see what your rates are. Those are locked in. You couldn't do that today with Excel. You have no clue no one does, whether you're residential, public or private. So that 3.5%, that's a projection on our part, that's gonna escalate much faster. And their applicable retail rate, if that raises 3%, so does that bill credit. They're locked together, so they move together from that starting point. So yeah, that delta gets wider because that spread gets wider, and it hockey sticks out at the end of the year. I would also say too, these are projections. I've been asked before, well, what happens if it doesn't go up 3%? And my answer to that is, even if it went up 1.5%, you're better off than you would be if you didn't do anything at all. So we don't want to imply that it's hitting the lottery, by being able to get into this program. But obviously, if their rates continue to go up at the rate that they are, and you lock in at a lower rate with a lower escalator, that you've got that upside during that period of time.
Other question? All right. Thanks,
Okay.
we appreciate it.
Yeah. Is it okay
Thank
if
you.
we excuse ourselves?
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on, item 4, celebration and successes of students and staff. Okay,
Thank you. Thank you.
As far as activities closing out the year, as far as successes, we have 11 different activities, academic and athletic, participate in, obviously major competitions, whether it be at the state, national, and world levels. And so kudos to that group, for the kids and the work they put in forth with that. We got Jack Knaus is participating in the state trap shooting next week, and so kind of winds up the year. It was very successful, most we've had. So a number of activities in a long time in the same year, participating at that level, and so it's been fun to watch the kids and their ability to excel and showcase their talents across the state, and potentially across the world with what we're doing here in little tiny Kimball. So it's kind of fun to see.
Other items? Okay, moving on to the consent agenda.
I make a motion to approve. Second.
Motion by Carla and a second by Heather. Any further discussion? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. On to reports, Ms. Johnson.
Just finishing up the school year. It was a good end to the school year with the students. It was a long May, but a fun May. So now I'm just finishing up some loose ends and getting ready already for next year. So just preparing for next year, hiring a couple of new staff members let you know as far as our numbers, so we're sitting right now, we're at 326 students going into the fall as of today. That is including 12 new students with paperwork that's been handed in, and we still have paperwork that hasn't been turned in with new students coming in. So we are actually 4 students above where we were sitting last fall entering our school year. And so and that's with a small kindergarten class, and so that's kind of exciting. We're up, because I thought we'd be not. So we have a lot of new students coming in. And so now it's kind of radio silence for a while, because usually July is pretty quiet. And in August, it usually amps up with phone calls and tours and people knocking on the door. So looking forward to August and that starting again. So that's kind of where we're at for the elementary. So any questions?
Thank you. Mr. Whitby?
Wrapping up the end of the year as well. Reports, summer school's going on right now. We have, second week of that ending tomorrow, and then we'll be into our last week next week. Again, it's just getting ready for next school year. We've done a number of tours, with new students, new families coming in. In fact, the last week, we had 6 new students register with paperwork, in the district, anywhere from 6th grade all the way up to sophomores. We did a number of tours before school was out. I don't have the exact numbers yet, but I'll try to bring those to you in July. But it's, I mentioned this to both Carrie and Jim and Joan. This is the busiest we've been with tours in my 11 years here. I mean, we just have lots of families either calling or stopping in or arranging tours. So I think it bodes very well for a nice sized student enrollment here coming fall. So if the trends continue to hold out and go the direction they're going. So like Carrie said, we're wrapping things up. Loose ends, yeah. So questions from
I guess a question to both of you, are you hearing from the tours that these are new families, or are they all open enrollees choosing to cross borders, or?
I've had a couple move-ins, so they're actually going to be Kimball residents, and then, some are open enrolled. So I've had a little of both. So.
It might have been more open enrollees. The family I toured last week actually lives in Kimball, has been going to Annandale, and is now coming back. Reason being size, they want to get back into a smaller school district. Annandale's just gotten a little large for them, so, and they like hearing, what's happening within their district in terms of opportunities, and not necessarily just in academics, but opportunities across the board that we participate in multiple areas, so. But more open enrollments than move-ins. Yeah, especially in that northern boundary, that St. Mary's and St. Augusta area, seeing more and more and more families.
That was my next question. Was it from the north or the south and south?
For this building, definitely,
Okay.
to the north.
And it is exciting because they do go between Annandale. When I first got here, they'd say, well, we're gonna go check out Annandale too, and I never hear from them again. And, they're coming back. That's what's cool. I get the phone call and say, we're coming to Kimball. So it's really cool. It's nice to see that they're choosing us. So it's really nice. It's exciting.
Do we have an end of year ins and outs? How, if you could send one out with us, it'd just be interesting to see how where we're making the most of our ground, in comparison to the last couple of years. So,
It's been fun.
Yeah, I would agree.
thanks, John.
Yeah.
Any other questions from Mr. Whitby? Or Ms. Johnson? Okay, Mr. Wagner?
All right, just a few items, I have 5 of them here. The press box update, as you can see, that we got walls up finally in the first level. It's gonna be obviously significantly larger and bigger than what we've had. When they tore down the, I don't know if I had a chance last time, but they tore down the old press box, apparently it was not fastened down. They were shocked when it just fell over, and so the wood was rotten. And, we were shocked that with the tornado that went through, that just stood there and it did tip, so. And we still use it after the tornado, and so it's one of those things where, the higher powers obviously watching over us because, they were shocked how easily it came up.
Games,
He
yeah.
said, he said, "Look, there's the 4 years."
Alright, so this one will be fastened to the cement slab, and the code requires, a bolt every 4 feet, this one has a bolt every 3 feet, so it'll definitely be more secure, wider base. And it'll be up to specs of what we need to be able to put our pitch in once it's done. The section committee will be coming out here for our section for track and then taking a look at it to make sure it meets their, expectations of what they need to host a section track here. So, we basically designed it based on what they said we need for it, so, I'm expecting that once they see it all done and ready to go, that, we'll be able to host a section track meets out here and then move up to the next level and continue to push and bring that, group and that excitement to the area and that type of thing to help revenue for local businesses and all that kind of stuff, so it's pretty exciting. I mean, I don't say it's just a press box, but I was really shocked when they said it was that bad, for one, and then, of course, the first thing in my mind is like, thank God nobody got hurt, or, you know, it would've been disastrous, so it's nice to be getting that done. As far as enrollment numbers, as Carrie and Eric talked about, the big thing that we're monitoring and watching, obviously our graduating class of seniors was 55. A week ago, our incoming numbers for kindergarten was 39. As we saw with Ms. Hannon's presentation last month, our projections are really down for residents. You know, we go from 39 to 35 the year after in kindergarten, and then the next 3 years after that to 31 resident students or potential kindergarten age kids. You know, so we're watching that very closely to see where those numbers are at. Obviously, we want to make sure that our numbers don't go down, which we're continually working and striving to get to the 800 number of students in the district. And so, next week, or not next week, tomorrow, the brochure is going out, and so, some of you will get it in the mail either tomorrow, Friday, or Saturday. And so, this year, we are hitting the route around the St. Augusta area itself. We haven't hit that in the last 2 mailers that we did, so the idea is that because we're adding a pickup location right in St. Augusta, the hope is that we can pick up a number of students from that location or that spot to help boost our enrollment numbers and get a big group of kids that are in one small area, so it can minimize route times and that type of thing to maximize what we can do from that perspective. So, mailer turned out pretty nice. I should say pretty nice, that was very nice, and so I was happy with how it looked. Yeah. So went back to the blue of the original first one that we did. Was talking to Mike that, I don't know what it is about the blue, it's just got a nice color to it, really has a nice pop to it, and it's a huge mailer, as you're well aware of, and so it has that thing when someone opens in their mailbox, they gotta notice it, they can't not notice that thing. So worst case scenario, we're gonna have 3,800 households who read something about Kimball, you know, and so that was a big thing, cause they're gonna look at that thinking, what the heck is this? And then I know every year, the last 2 years, I've gotten calls from board members from St. Cloud, wanting to know why we're sending our propaganda into their school district and that type of thing, but, apparently they're on the mailing route of whatever one of the routes are that we have, so, but, you know, it looks very great. I mean, it's a nice brochure, and, we've gotten a number of phone calls when we send that out, so my hope is that we won't have we'll still have the lull in July with tours and that type of thing, but my hope is that we'll get more calls, and then once August hits, and people keep this in their filing cabinet or whatever, if they're gonna start making the call, we'll get out here and see what we got going on and that type of thing. We are expanding and doing new things, and so that takes me into number 4 and 5 on my report between our youth apprenticeship and our building expansion. I'm looking at an opportunity with both Mouse Motors and with Legacy Building Solutions of the 2 major dominoes, and trying for us moving towards getting our wood shop room back, our separate wood shop room. So there's a domino effect with that Mouse Motors is looking at committing anywhere between $5,000 to $7,000 for us to get these Z-Space computers. I can't remember which board members had an opportunity to look at that, went through that truck that was out here that had the 3D. So we're looking at getting 2 of those, and so what that allows us to do now is that they're gonna be down in the vocational area and the ag area, so now we can take and kids will get simulations on the computer for Mouse Motors as far as their training before they go to Mouse Motors on a vehicle. They can tear the vehicle apart, they can literally have it running or moving, and pull it right off the screen, because it's a 3D computer, then they can manipulate it by pulling parts away from the car and see it still moving, so they can see exactly how it's working, what it's doing, and have the exact training that they need even before they touch a vehicle. And part of the process of the youth apprenticeship is then Mouse Motors is also donating a car for the kids to work on. So then the kids that show the most interest or the highest level interest as far as that area or that type of training, then will have an opportunity to do apprenticeship at the dealership right over there for a couple of different jobs, and then they're gonna send their techs down here to work with the kids directly, so they can have that training and be more trained before anybody ever walks in the door, and probably be more trained than a lot of the people that they hire when they come through the doors and that type of thing. And then the computers also give us opportunity then for like the ag area to do animal science, to simulate welding, simulate obviously small engines, any of those types of things, dissections, hearts, genetics, all those types of things, and literally manipulate it 3D and get the experience and do different labs and that type of thing, so that way they have that opportunity. And with looking at what the building expansion from Ben Fox and the building Legacy Building Solutions, it now gives us a space that kids can start using. It puts us a year out before we can actually get the proper ventilation in there, but we can at least start using that space immediately and expanding and having room for kids to work in multiple areas, so then that way they can have multiple projects going on at the same time and that type of thing. So, like I said, it's a big domino effect with essentially these two businesses working with us and offering their services to what we can do to really maximize what we want to accomplish as a school district and save a tremendous amount of money for the taxpayers and what we can offer, and then plus with the brochure, really showcase, a lot of phenomenal things going on in Kimball. It's pretty exciting from that perspective. So with that, I would invite, if you have questions for Ben's here. You can talk about the building, if you have questions for him about the building. Some of you had a lot of specific questions about the material and that type of thing. And I figured what better than get the expert and have an expert here to talk about it and explain it and how it works and the efficiencies of it and all those kind of things.
I don't know if you've shown any of the renderings and such.
I sent them the renders that you had sent me.
Okay, so we printed those off. We have fabric samples here and plans as well, so if anybody wants.
One of the questions I got today from a community member was, well, the cost to heat that thing's gotta be astronomical because it's a hoop barn. And I said, no, it's not a hoop barn, I don't think you understand. Can you talk to that a little bit?
Well, it'll be fully insulated with R30 insulation, and one of our biggest selling points to customers is that our buildings are far more energy efficient than steel structures, because it's airtight, inside and out. There's 2 layers. That's just a visual here, but there's the exterior fabric is obviously airtight, watertight, and there's a R30 insulation, and on the inside there's another fabric liner that is airtight. So when HVAC contractors, for example, are working on a structure, they need to know that it is airtight, because a traditional building has about 10% leakage. So I can assure you, it'll be the most efficient space you have in this property.
About the longevity of the fabric, that's another question I've got, and I actually got one today too.
Yeah. No, that's a fair question.
We got a lot of conservative farmers in our community, and they're just putting up pole sheds with steel.
Yep. No, and there are cheap fabric companies out there. Well, the majority of them sell a lower price product. Honestly, our buildings are more expensive than steel structures considerably more expensive, because we're considered probably the highest quality fabric structure on the market. And we do use the best fabrics available. Your standard fabric, for example, on a farm building around here is a 12-ounce polyethylene fabric. That's what all the industry uses. What we put on this is a 27-ounce PVC. It'll last 3 times longer than that 12-ounce fabric. This fabric will truly last, we warranty it for 25 years. And that's the samples that we have here, are that quality fabric. To us, it's a showpiece, so we're obviously gonna want it to look good and work well.
Another question I got today is city code. I assume we've covered that because, this person was saying, well, you can't even build that. I said, why? Well, because city code says you can't have a structure that's not aesthetically the same as the one next to it.
Exactly.
Another question, somebody said, what if a kid gets mad and runs a utility knife along the outside?
They can do that, and it's repairable, number one, and we have probably about 5,000 fabric structures that we've installed now around the world. I know of one that we've had to go back to repair for vandalism. And it was in downtown Washington DC. So, it's not a very common problem. Surprising to me, with all those structures, that we've had so little problem with it. And honestly, if you wanted to put, a different material on the sidewalls at any given time, in 20 years, you've had 3 cuts, you can put steel on the sides, you can put brick and mortar on the sides, you can do whatever you want. The structure will support it.
So after 20-year life cycle or 25-year life cycle of this, we could always take the existing steel structure you have underneath it and do a traditional, if that was
Yeah.
something.
We do a lot of that for mining, because they want them relocatable for 25 or 30 years, and then they change it into a traditional steel building.
And you still have the foundation and you still have all.
Exactly. Yeah, the foundation will be designed accordingly. Our loads that we transfer to the foundation are the exact same as any other structure.
So there wouldn't be any,
There's no reductions taken. No.
UV resistance on fabric?
That's the limiting factor. That's where the 25 years comes in.
Okay.
So, yeah, in northern Canada, this fabric will last 30, 35 years.
I just know you're putting them up all over North America, actually globally.
Yep.
So there's gonna be some extreme temperatures
Yeah.
on the opposite side of what,
We get both
Minnesota's gonna
extremes.
offer, right?
Well, I think it's awesome, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
We're excited. It's gonna work well and solve several challenges with one shot.
Absolutely.
Did you smell it? Yeah.
Does that smell like a new building?
Like kids in a candy shop.
That new building smells
I can smell all vitally.
Doesn't smell like Fleet Farm. Rubber tires.
I'll be honest,
I
I'm
think
not
I was
about
pocket
smell.
knife.
All the time, so that wasn't.
Well, if you're inside, there's a lot of it sitting there and
I suppose if you put up signs, do not smell.
possible.
Any more technological questions?
Ben, would you be open to anybody giving you a call, do a tour of the facility, get a better understanding? Because obviously, all of your facility out there is, put together with your product.
Yeah, the best showpiece we have
It's
around
your
here is our.
full
facility.
office space, manufacturing space, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, how many square feet do you have in there?
Oh, 76.
Yeah, so we've got lots of space there to tour and see.
I've had the opportunity to go out and take a look at it. I encourage everybody to take advantage of it and take a view.
And that concludes my report. You got any more you wanna add, Ben?
No.
Okay.
No. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me.
Okay. And I, thank Ben and worked with him, Mike, and just come up with the idea and approaching us on it, and, it's exciting. I mean, I think it's something where it really, when we look at trying to be responsible with our dollars and maximize what we can do and accomplish, this covers a lot of different things, and it really puts us in a spot where, being fiscally responsible, and if you look at 25 years and price that out for the amount that, what it costs to get that put up, we're looking at less than $6,000 a year. And you can't get a portable or you can't rent a structure for that cost, let alone put up something this nice for that, so, say an old storage tank container, 10 foot by 40 feet long, you're looking at a minimum of $800 to $900 a month just rental, storage containers, so imagine what portables would be like, and we're getting something that is essentially as good as what we're sitting in, and probably better, obviously with the efficiency, it's not gonna be that difficult to heat it or cool it, so it's pretty exciting. I mean, I don't get too excited until I see it up, but, the whole concept is, it's a great opportunity for the Kimball School District and the community.
What type of roofing does it have on it? It's still looking at the pictures, is it still that same type of plastic on the roof,
Yeah.
or is it actual shingles?
No, it's fabric.
Is that too?
Yeah, it's very highly tensioned fabric is the best way to
So
explain it.
no Minnesota Viking dome glass.
No, no, we don't want that.
Yeah, I saw there was one picture, Carla, did you print it out?
I did print them out, I just passed them out.
Oh,
I think
okay.
we got to see them.
But like on these here, we won't be using it as a casino, I thought it was a
I
casino.
know, but
in
I
here, so
I
just
actually,
don't mean to burst anybody's bubble.
I thought it was cool, I did go on his website and.
Fundraising.
Maybe have a bingo night or something, right?
I did go on his website and I did think it was, I mean, the amount of options that are truly there and to see it used for so many things was kind of mind blowing. I did print those out. I mean, the casino was one, but I know even our kids here say, oh, we're having a dance in the lunchroom. You know, I mean, it can be used for so many other things sometimes for, you know, for the kids that I think, I mean, band concerts, it sounded like acoustics were like 10 times better in this type of facility to have a, you know, band program or whatever. So it was just, I thought it was really interesting to see the amount of options.
The logo's gonna be on the end like that?
We're working on that. Yep, we can, it should though make it look pretty much like that rendering. We want to, like I said, it's a showpiece to us too. We're gonna publicize it and get some marketing leverage out of it, of course. And we can put solar panels in there too. Possible.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
Ben.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We done then, or?
Yep.
Alright, thank you everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We can keep these?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, I can, sorry, but I have to take these back.
Okay.
And, well, you can keep.
Okay, I need something else to sniff.
Yeah, there you go.
Thanks, guys.
Oh, you know. Thank you.
How's traffic, Jody?
No, seriously, I was like stuck forever until Rogers. Yeah, it was a long time. I looked earlier in the day, but I guess I looked too early. Okay, looking all right. Kind of the way it is everywhere. So are you ready to talk about the?
Yep. You're up.
Slide up here for a second. So for the additional cost to get it up and running so that you can use it, right? We are proposing a lease purchase agreement then for those costs. And if you turn to the first page, just stick up there again, that'd be great. So for the purpose there, we're saying it would finance a portion of the cost of constructing the building addition. And this would be allowed under the statute that's referenced there. You are authorized to lease levy for up to $212 per pupil. And right now, that is about $172,000, and I think you exercise only about $19,000 for a joint lease for one of the is it co-op or something probably?
Ed district.
Yeah, Ed district, okay. So you have plenty of authority, that's not an issue. We are setting it up with a term, a pretty short term, 4 years and 6 months, since you don't need a lot of financing to finish it up right. You'll see that the principal and interest would be due every 6 months, starting February 1st, 2018. And then within the basis for recommendation, if we flip down to that, obviously ask any questions on any of these items, I'll just highlight a few things. We think the lease purchase makes sense because you could go out to the voters, but for this dollar amount of financing, that probably is cost prohibitive for one thing. And the upfront costs are generally less with a lease purchase. We will use a request for proposal process. We have about 10 financing companies and banks that generally will be interested in bidding. We probably won't get bids from all of them. We'll also want to put the proposal out to any of your local banks that might be interested. So we'll get a list of those from Joan. And obviously then you qualify for the lease levy to finance the payments. So no additional cost to the general fund. And then just to note under other considerations that technically during the term of the lease, the lessor, whoever provides the financing, owns the right to that property, and then you'll purchase it at the end for a nominal fee. So then turning to the next page, just a couple things on that. I think it's important to just point out the risk factor that by law, you have to have an annual appropriation clause as part of the agreement, that is standard. And so, because of that, there is usually a bit higher interest rate because they know that you have the option to not appropriate in any year that the lease is underway. We will work in conjunction with your bond attorney. He'll review all the legal documents and make sure everything's fine and provide a legal opinion related to the financing. And then we'll move into timing. So tonight, just talking about the pre-sale, there's no official board action like there is with the bond issue. So for lease purchase financing, we generally just give you an informational report. We then send out the request for proposals. We usually get their proposals back a few days before your meeting so that we can take a look at some of the differences. We usually leave it pretty wide open, except that we will have level payments over the term of the lease. So we'll take a look at those and we'll bring a summary of that along with a recommendation to your July board meeting, and then likely close about a month later around August 17th. So that's when you would have the money. The attachment then is just a document that shows the lease amount, sources and uses of funds. So the other district funds is really the donation, and that is the approximate amount I think that they have it valued at. Is that still
Where are you looking at?
correct? In the other district funds section, the donation piece.
Oh, yeah, estimated,
Yep. And then, we put together the estimated tax impact schedule. So on a $150,000 home, it's about 58 cents a month. And again, you have plenty of authority, already within your lease levy, so there's no problem there. We've structured, again, the payment, so it's just shy of a 5-year term. And we, have estimated an interest rate of 3.5%. So relatively small interest costs over the life of the lease. And we just thought a shorter term would be a little bit more attractive to some of the financing companies that generally submit proposals. We, I think, had taken a look at a 10-year schedule and then asked Jim if you guys would be amenable to a shorter schedule. And the tax impact doesn't change very much. So thought that might get us a few additional bidders, hopefully. So that is how that process would work.
Couple quick questions. If we were to do a capital campaign and wanna pay that off early, how is that determined?
So,
And
yeah.
would it be a problem?
Each, proposal that we receive will have, they'll give us, as part of their terms, they'll give us prepayment terms. So, and again, we usually leave that pretty open so that, as you evaluate the options, we'll definitely summarize that in the key terms of each proposal. So you'll be able to weigh in on that when you see the proposals that we get back.
Okay. Then, what is the nominal fee that the district will end up paying to buy the facility at the end of
Oh, it's usually $1.
Okay,
It's usually a $1.
okay, thank you.
Or actually, once you pay it off, they usually then give you, clear title or whatever, yeah. It's either $1 or just the final payment.
Thank you.
And we've done, a number of these. It's a pretty routine transaction for districts. The most recent one was Crosby, I think a couple months ago they did. But for their track, I think. Can't remember exactly what it was for. Maybe just a little bit larger. So districts have used them for a variety of situations. So it's probably the tool that works best for you in terms of what you have available to use. Because you can't just go out and get a bank loan, you have to use one of the statutory authorities that's provided to school districts. So this is probably the best vehicle and quickest and cheapest.
Now, I assume for the next 4.6 years or whatever, we can't do this again then, right? Because we would be at our max per pupil?
No, you wouldn't be close. You'll
I
be
thought you said that was like 172.
172,000.
Right, but aren't we at
Oh,
one?
it goes by the annual amount. So your annual payments will be about 15,000 or 30,000.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
not borrowed
You're
dollars, it's the
way,
paying principal.
yeah, you're not even
Okay, so
close
we
to your.
just thought around something came up.
Absolutely.
We this program.
So right now, you have that, what's called the joint levy at the 19,000 for the ed district. This would be another 30,000, so you'd be at about 49,000 of the 172,000. So not even close to your limit.
Okay, that makes more sense, I thought the same thing you did.
Okay, so if we have the extra money, could we rope in any part to get the woods room done at the same time? To add the HVAC system and revise a current structure to make it into what we need it to be?
That's all for us.
When I asked you that question, you said because it's an existing
Yeah,
structure?
they'll allow it for an addition. I don't know, for remodeling, you'd probably have to consider a different financing mechanism, I think.
What if it's just the piece of the equipment that's set on the outside of it?
You can do capital notes for equipment. I'm not sure if they, as part of this particular financing, if it's part of the new addition, it would be fine. I don't think an existing space you can lease levy. I can double check that, but
That's how you explained it to me on that.
yeah,
Crap, that was all the problem.
yeah. I mean, some of your different maintenance stuff can be part of long-term facilities maintenance. I know you guys have plenty of things already on the list there, but
What if we built the system implement in the little part of the building, we added on all the junk? We added a 6x6 area that thing sat in.
I like his crooked mind.
It's crooked, all right.
so outside of the, where would that be?
Well, cause you have a, the unit would be outside as far as the waste unit for the woods. So if you built something around that, would that,
You're talking bricks and mortar. Okay. Slab.
Yeah, you would be.
A slab, a roof over it?
Yeah, with 10 by 16 room or something.
Storage room for wood?
Yeah, I think that would be doable.
that would be stretching with MDE and the laws?
I don't think so.
You sure?
I mean, we can.
Well, we need to check, I don't wanna,
We can
I don't wanna
give
put it out. in the
I just threw it
house.
out there, I was just.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly worth checking, I'm not afraid to check it, but I just don't wanna,
Oh, yeah, I don't
You
want,
know,
I'm not proposing we push any limits.
That's what he says now.
What's that?
That's what he says now.
Yeah, I mean, if there's something like that, we'd wanna add it into this transaction for sure, because it'd probably be relatively minimal also, don't you think, to do something like that?
well, just the HVAC itself is gonna be anywhere between probably 65 to 70,
Okay.
so.
We have to figure out the side of the ductwork that has to go up in there and
All right, cause that's what it costs to do the metals area, so.
65. Do all that, it's including tearing out the old one, and new collector, and new ductwork and whatnot. Maybe give Jason a call and see, can I give us an idea?
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, we're planning to send out the proposals by the end of next week, so
we get something
If
here
you
tomorrow,
get a-
yeah.
Well, your structure could be as easy as having him do a little frame with some fabric over it.
and maybe it'll be smelly. Something that
Another
smells
thing
good.
for me.
It would smell like wood.
Yeah.
I'm sure it can make a cool little design on the outside.
Yeah, we can get to work, I mean, you know, obviously we'll change those numbers a little bit.
Would it be close to the, this structure at all, or is it gonna be?
Define close.
Oh, yeah, 'cause the other thing that you do, because you're giving them the right to the property that that technically they own until the end of the lease term, we have to get a survey and a legal description from you of the location where it's going to be. So, and there's gotta be public access to be able to get into it. So if by chance you would ever decide not to appropriate funds for it, somebody else could take over that, I don't think it's ever happened in any of our districts, but somebody else could, the lessor could come in and use that for their purpose, but they have to be able to have access to it.
There's access to it.
There's
There's a
external
road.
access, they'd have to have a key.
To your building now, with this little other addition that we're talking about.
There's a little bit of green space off.
And what would they ever wanna use it for? It'd be not, I mean, it wouldn't be any,
A wood room.
Well, considering they only finance the cement part, they have access to the entire.
Slab of cement.
yeah, I mean, this
I don't
building
think- I think that's
addition,
a
I
Pretty
think,
tiny worry, but.
I think the building addition, they probably would feel like they've got some potentially other use for it should you guys not appropriate funds. I'm not sure about the structure you're talking about, how comfortable they feel with.
And, I mean, the only red
that.
flag that comes to my mind would be, I'm talking to Bill Kiesel from the
MDE.
MDE. He wasn't necessarily wild about the structure on the gymnasium, that fabric, and so with the lease levy, they'll approve it, but I'm not sure how much explanation I can give to classify this under a lease levy
Right.
with an existing structure and a new structure without all of a sudden now he, him throwing his hands up. 'Cause he wasn't necessarily convinced that was the best thing to do in the first place, but, understanding our needs.
It's such a new technology, I think that doesn't help.
Well, right, and so, I mean, I can certainly try to get a hold of him and ask him, but my concern would be if it's not for, if they technically, with the bylaws or whatever, you can't use it for an existing structure, and you're trying to blend a new structure with an existing structure, if you run into any issues with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple hurdles. There's gonna be a hurdle from his perspective. He's been doing this forever at the MDE. And then from the financing perspective, I'm not sure how the banks and financial institutions would feel about that.
Okay.
We tried.
Yeah.
I'll certainly dig into it. I'm not afraid to ask those questions.
Because there's not gonna be students, or it's not gonna be like a room that's used for students or anything,
It would
what you
be.
were kind of picturing.
Not the news, not what the.
It would be the ventilation.
It'd be the
Yeah.
ventilation system into the.
But you could
existing
make it
room.
large enough to have, you could say just storing stuff. You made it 10 by 8, you know what I mean?
Right.
And then there was an area that you stored filters for the system in there, or.
We can give it a shot. Yeah.
Dig.
Okay, any other questions for Jody?
Alright.
Thanks for making the trip out.
Appreciate it. Most of the drive back, so we'll sort
Oh,
of.
it should be fine. I'll go down 55. I came from Roseville and I go home to Egan, so
Sure.
it's always easier down 55.
Oh, yeah.
Hey Jody, can you do web access with this instead of having to travel here? Can we do a web access with you come so we can save ourselves some money and save you some time? You do that with other?
I mean, we don't charge you to come to the meetings.
So
Our
that
fee
we
is
can
just
save
a
any
flat
time?
fee, so it would probably save us time. We usually do all of our meetings in person, but yeah, we certainly can.
I'm just wondering.
Yeah.
I've number of conference calls or like that, and that's a long way for you to travel, so I don't know.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, this is nothing generally. Go to Kimball? I've been to Grand
That's not
Rapids,
good,
Cromwell,
Yeah. Just wondering.
where else did I go? Oh, Carlton, yeah, no. War Road,
I was gonna say,
I get
last
around.
time you were out, you were coming from somewhere in the north.
probably War Road. Yeah, we did a lot of War Road stuff last year, so, yeah, no, this is super easy. Yeah, without traffic, it's so simple. Yeah, I don't mind it all. I like to be here. I'm just sorry that it was a little bit long drag. I was worried that we'd get to that part of the agenda and I wouldn't be here yet, but I had Greg look at the agenda. He's like, I think you're fine. So,
All right.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
you're welcome. Okay, so we'll see you then with the results at your next meeting.
Okay. We'll talk between
Yeah,
tonight and tomorrow and figure out what we can do.
yeah, sounds good.
Okay,
Alrighty, thanks you guys.
thank you.
Nice, matching.
Hey, thanks.
Well, you guys are, well, there's a few people, yeah, but you're really close tonight. Love it.
Okay, next on the list, Benton Stearns at district meeting, we met today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Benton Stearns got a rebate, a premium rebate from Blue Cross Blue Shield insurance last year, $9,800, so Benton Stearns will start working out the details of the refund to the union staff in August, once they all return. Approve the contract, part-time contract for Ken Kramer. He's been taking care of the building grounds, both at the Sartell and Voyager's location the past several years, no cost increase, $18,000 a year, cost for Benton Stearns. Under the director's report, they do need to replace a van, purely because of age. It's reached its quote-unquote 12-year life requirement, which is it's a statute item. The van only has 30,000 miles on it over the 12-year period. So they'll be looking to work a trade-in with one of the local car dealerships in the area. One that they've been looking at, there was a recent trade, similar make model that had 100,000 on that they got 12 grand for that on a trade-in. Someone that they know, so it should be a good value on a trade-in and return towards the purchase of a new one. CPI training, there's full training scheduled for August 17th. August 8th and 9th, there's refresher courses being offered. Nadine will be sending out information to the building administrators for regarding all new staff members to ensure that everybody's getting training for that. And then for the 17-18 year school year, they have 5 full trainings scheduled and 8 refresher courses that they're gonna offer. 11 school psychologist positions have all been filled. 10 will be delegated and divided among the 6 member districts for Stearns members, and 1 is a dedicated resource for Voyagers. And they are just in the early stages of beginning negotiations with staff there. They've had their admins had their first meeting, but nothing with the bargaining unit as of yet. That's it for Benton Stearns. Questions or comments? Okay. Item 6.5, health and safety.
We met on May 24th and discussed the signage up at the high school track is now up and running. We talked about a fence around the parking lot by the elementary school playground, which run about $5,600. Looking at long-term facility maintenance funds for possibly for doing that. We had Allison and Brittany come from Stearns County to discuss our school wellness policy, which was a policy that we have, and my biggest takeaways is the state is putting mandates in to help these schools improve the wellness of our kids. So things like they can't do pizza parties anymore. They want to switch to doing rewards for kids to say, you're gonna reward them by giving them to go outside and to play. Stop punishing the kids and taking away their recess time. You need the recess time to get them out to go play. And trying to work on different ideas for rewarding the kids other than saying it's food. Food all the time. Food reward, and it being junk food all the time. So they're looking for ideas, chips and salsa instead of pizza, that type of stuff. They're also looking at not serving products like Coca-Cola. They're looking more towards a zero Sprite, that type of thing. Staying away from ice cream. Different guidelines that we have to follow. Is that really a good definition of that?
Primarily to stay away from the non-qualifying foods, and then also putting allergen countries. There's a lot of student allergies that families don't necessarily know about.
There's anything else? Is that?
That was the bulk of the wellness policy.
Any questions on that? So no more still getting the ice cream Fridays back at the elementary school. Right up the building. Pushing for it? Okay. That's why I came on the board, is the ice cream Fridays back.
Both custard, maybe both that custard option you can have.
I'm giving fruit smoothies, something, there's
Sugar?
gotta be, yeah, fruit sticks, that's on a stick, I mean,
He
come
keeps
on.
on saying, you're supposed to be out there to do good things. The only good thing I want you to do is bring my ice cream Fridays back. Why can't you make that happen?
You have a principal that doesn't like ice cream.
That's the problem.
Wow.
Cookies Friday then?
I can have cookies.
Okay.
Oh, no, I can't. That's right.
Those are bananas
Cupcakes?
there.
Do rice cakes.
Rice
Oh,
cakes.
no.
I love cheese.
Rice cake Fridays, that'd be so sad. I'm gonna say everything I've ever heard.
There goes our enrollment right now.
They made me a rice cake, bomb,
Rice
bomb,
cake.
yeah.
I like cheese. We'll have cheese.
Cheese and cracker.
Yeah.
Nope. Only got rice cakes, don't no crack. Too much sodium.
Oh, yeah. You can have Pop-Tarts though, that's on the list.
Really?
It's like a huge
No,
calories
you
in a
can
Pop
have
Tart.
school purchase Pop-Tarts,
School
not
purchase,
store-bought
yeah.
Pop-Tarts, there's a difference.
There is.
Your
Because
whole
it's all
wheat.
in the manufacturer's package.
It's a crazy list.
They package it differently, but they package it the same for schools and for stores, so it all looks the same, but the content in the school purchase is different
Than
than
what
what
I
the
get.
purchase in the store.
Pop-Tarts are horrible things.
Pop-Tarts, goldfish, the same
Cinnamon
thing.
ones are good.
Well, I'm not saying they're not good.
Same as in school, but not the same as in the store.
Same and stuff.
It's cold milk.
It all looks the same, but it's different.
Interesting.
Things change, the more they stay the same.
Tomato or tomato?
Right. Okay, anything else for health and safety? I got one other quick ad for Benton Stearns. Marlene passed out to all the district members, a summary of our use of restrictive procedures for the 2016-17 year. And this is basically for the, students receiving, services through the group there. There were 113, students that received services. We did have 11 incidents where restrictive procedures needed to be used. Total number of students totaling that 11, it revolved around 2 individuals. The good thing about it on the back, I've circled this, I'll pass it around, is that they do record any staff student related injuries that are associated with this, because this is a big thing, is Jim sent the information out on the violent policy for MSBA for us to review. So we didn't have any numbers, so staff and students is 0. So,
That's okay.
Yep, I see 0.
okay, sorry, on to negotiations. Brian?
I guess we're still in the preliminary phases of going through language right now. I guess I was hoping that we wouldn't, have many language issues, but again, looks like there's a lot of language issues, and so hopefully we can get through those in a lot timely manner than we did last year, but it's kind of, we're just, like I said, burrowing through changes in the language in the contract. Is there anything else I don't know?
No, that pretty much sums it up. 5 pages worth of language to review, so.
What did we have for language?
One item.
One.
So. Questions regarding negotiations? Okay. Mr. Meyer, elementary site visit.
Yeah, went down and spent the morning with, Carrie at the elementary. It was a fun time, it was interesting. You know, obviously you've seen the building and you go there even daily, but, I guess the interesting thing for me was the special ed end of it. I hadn't been involved in that end of it, and to see kinda what they do, how they do, why they do it, and where they do it. Where they do it is probably the biggest thing that, to wrap my mind around. I mean, seems like an enormous amount of space and resources that are used for a small amount of kids, but, so it was interesting, and, yeah. Got to talk with Carrie for a while, and some of her struggles and some of her wins, and it was fun and definitely worth my time.
Any questions or comments? Okay, moving on to business. Everyone has adopted the proposed 2017-18 budget.
Nothing changed on this since I sent it out last week, so if you look at it, you have any questions? Go to the end for the bottom line. The way the budget's set up right now, we would be looking at a, positive 12,305. Now, this is not taking any fund balance into consideration, this is just revenues over expenditures by $12,305 in the general fund and capital fund.
So where would that put us bottom line in our general fund?
Depends on where we come out with fund balance at the end of this year.
So we don't know that yet.
Right now, we're still in deficit.
Roughly
So it depends how.
Roughly how much?
25,
Yeah.
27,000,
Yeah,
25,000, something like that. That food service number is not correct. That should be a 0. I'm not sure what's pulling in there. 0 or maybe $100. It's a very small, positive on food service. I didn't notice that before.
So, I mean, so as percentage wise, we finished last year at negative 2.4, that 2.5 was the threshold for SOD. Probably around 0.5, 0.7, or less than that right in there for this year, so we're going in the right direction.
We're getting closer.
How much money was owed at the end of the school year for the school lunches? I know we talked about your
Oh,
quarterly.
at the end of this year,
Yeah.
it's maybe $700.
Some gains and ground.
But in total, when you look at all lunches, all money in lunch accounts or those in deficit, it's about $9,000 to the positive. And then that gets set up as a deferred revenue, so it rolls into next year. Fund 4 is looking at being in the positive at the end of next year. This year they were gonna dip into their fund balance a little bit. There should be no construction expenses in FY18. Those should all end up in this year. They looked at the track yesterday. They were supposed to.
They're supposed to, that won't
They
be until
did get-
tomorrow.
So whatever payments we have to make, we'll defer those back into this year so that it all comes out of 17. There should be nothing left for 18. Fund 7 is our debt service fund. They always hold back if we've got excess fund balance in debt service, they hold back so that that excess is used up before we get more from the taxpayers to cover debt service. And then Fund 8 is the scholarship fund. And they've been, about 16,000 in scholarships this year. And they raise between $15,000 and $20,000 that they raise each year. Any questions on any of the specific areas?
If we can get the 800 students, we'd be obviously well into the positive.
We were trying to stay over 700.
What's that?
We were trying to stay over 700 at one certain point, so that's a great news.
So where are we at right now?
The BARS report has 720 students in.
Mediums, it's a fluctuating membership that changes every day based on who shows up every day. We started the school year, I think it was it 746 or 744 or somewhere in there? So that's kind of, I look at what walks in the door kind of on that first day.
So can you really look at that as we lost 20 students?
Yeah,
It's fluctuates so much, it's really hard.
essentially
You know,
look
we
at,
look at a preschool student as one student and they don't count as one student
right.
in their membership because they go by their hours.
That's the goal.
You'd have to go to a bigger class in sports.
Yep.
Right, well, we will be, or
Yeah.
we already are, except with the exception of football.
Did we get it?
Yep.
Okay.
We get
I didn't hear that.
2 years.
I've been to the board meeting where I think we talked about it.
Good too.
It's like my anniversary, 20 years, and you're like digging at me.
I was digging it, just Sean told me to.
That's why you smile.
Okay, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Sean and a second by Brian. Any further discussion? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Item 7.2 is approving a lunch price increase of 10 cents at the elementary and 10 cents at the high school. Elementary lunch will be $2.40 and high school lunch will be $2.55. The adult lunch will be $3.85.
We're required to do a price comparison, and we have to fall within the state guidelines. And in order to meet that, we have to raise, we would have had to raise 15 cents between high school and elementary. So it would have been 10 cents at one or 5 at the other. If we raise 10 at each building, hopefully we won't have to raise next year.
Just so you know, sixth grade is staying at that elementary level. So if anybody asks you, you will not be paying the 7-12 price, you'll be paying the K-6 price.
If they get the benefits of all the other year round.
Motion to approve increased lunch prices.
Second.
Motion by Tim and a second by Brian. Any further discussion? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Item 7.3 is approved breakfast price increase of 10 cents for students and 50 cents for adults. Student price of $1.40, all free and reduced are still at no charge, adult price $2.25.
I make motion to accept.
Motion by Brian and a second by Sean. Any further discussion?
If reduced is no charge, why do we use the word reduced then?
When they fill out their free and reduced lunch application, they may qualify for reduced. Breakfast is always at no charge. They still get reduced price lunches.
Reduces the classification of where they're at on the poverty line. Cause some would qualify for free, some qualify for reduced, you have to put both, cause there's two different groups that would.
If they qualify for dues, they automatically get a free breakfast.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Let's see, I thought it was further discussion. All those in favor, or no, I have a motion by Brian and a second by Sean. Any further discussion? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Item 7.4 is accept a quotation from Thomas Insurance Agency for property liability insurance through EMC Insurance. And I ask
This is Greg Thomas.
Greg,
Hi,
nice to meet you. Welcome.
thank you very much. Do you want me to give you a 2-minute overview?
If you will, please.
Okay, great. Okay, thanks. I guess those are on, this is a little brochure on our agency. My name is Greg Thomas. We're still continuing to miss our Kimball agent from the last couple of years, Sherry, who passed away about a year ago. In the meantime, our policy's been with kind of the sideline group of the Minnesota School Boards Association. Because of all the claim activity, we've moved away from them, and now we're with EMC pending your approval tonight. If you notice on the front of the brochure, we still hold a Kimball local phone number. So if anybody has anything, they can get patched right into me by using that number. We still have an agent in town, Diana Lang, who comes in. She's an older agent that helps us out. So we still continue to try to have a presence here in the Kimball area by charitable donations and being in the area. EMC is a company that's based out of Des Moines, Iowa. They have a claims department and a branch office in Minnetonka. Their head underwriter, who's worked with me on this proposal, drives by here every Friday night on his way to his family cabin over in Painesville. So he's literally lathered looking at trying to place the school of Kimball, the district here with EMC. It's the old Employers Mutual Corporation is who this company is. They're A-rated, they're a strong company, they pay their claims. Brief overview on the coverage. First of all, they did a quick appraisal of the buildings, and our proposal includes about $8 million more in property limits than what we've been having, just simply because of the stuff that's going on here in Kimball and prices going up. So automatically, there's an $8 million increase with that. One of the policies that they have is called, it's a football term, it's called linebacker. And what this linebacker policy does is kind of all the fringe coverage that's probably becoming very important with school districts right now. One's professional liability for your staff and teachers. The next one would be employment practices liability. That coverage would include such things as molestation, harassment, abuse, those kind of things that a school district can get involved in. All you have to do is watch the 10 o'clock news at night and you see what's going on with that. There's volunteer liability included on that linebacker policy, and then also for your school board here, your professional liability, your errors and omissions. So that's all included in that one package policy. They do a lot of school districts in the area. This is the type of school that they really shine in. They pay their claims very well, and like I said, we can communicate with them on a day-by-day basis, so that's good. The other thing that they do that we really like, they have a loss control service, and I think that maybe your maintenance people might even get sick of seeing them after a while. Workplace management training is provided at no charge. Safety training is another area that they like to include some work with the district on. They go through harassment training, so harassment issues. And then also, I know your school bus contract is outside the district, but they also provide school bus safety trainings if you'd like to tap into that. Again, no charge for those things. I think it's a good plan. I think overall the price was a little less than we were paying last year, but it didn't come down like we wanted to. There's still a $10,000 deductible until, and I think we're gonna have to wait another year or two before that probably comes down. It's simply because of the loss history that we've had over the last 5 years. And I was with Joan in an email communication thanking our lucky stars that this last storm that hit Maple Lake didn't hit the school.
I heard ACGC track issues and roof problems and.
So again, pending approval, thank you, and do you have any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The action item on us to accept the quotation accept the quotation from Thomas Insurance Agency for property liability insurance through EMC. Do I have a motion? Motion by Tim, a second by Carla. Any further discussion? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Item 7.5 is accept quotation from Mahowald Insurance for work comp insurance, the risk administration services.
Second.
Motion by Carla, second by Brian. Any further discussion? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Item 7.6 is adopt a resolution adopting the Stearns County All Hazard Mitigation Plan.
This is part of that plan when the fire chief came in and the police came in. The Stearns County would come up with a first response plan for any emergency, whether it be chemical spill, fire, intruder, whatever that kind of thing is. And so we have to have an approval board-wise to let them know we're part of that plan, so that way they help service us and that type of thing. It's just a formality from their end that our board is aware of it. And then once we approve this, then forward or scan it, send it back to them so they have it for their records.
Make a motion to approve. Second.
Motion by Brian, second by Heather. And this is a resolution, so Sean, that was Sean. Since this is a resolution, it's a roll call. Sean, you want to start?
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Item 7.7 is approving cancellation of the district contract with Sun Edison due to Sun Edison no longer being a viable option for a solar garden.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Sean, second by Heather. Any further discussion? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Item 7.8 is approval of elementary student parent handbook for 2017-18.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Carla, second by Heather. Any further discussion? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Item 7.9 is approved high school student handbook for 2017-18 year.
pass them around, the only changes were made were the dates in the front cover. The start dates for activities are still to be determined, we'll get those in before the kids come in, but the language and, procedures jive right along with their district policies, so.
Make a motion to approve?
Motion by Brian, second by Heather. Any further discussion? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Item 710 is designate Jim Wagner, superintendent, as identified official with authority to authorize user access to MDE secure websites.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Sean, second by Carla. Any further discussion? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Announcements of future meetings. Our next regular board meeting is scheduled for July 19th, 6 p.m.
At what point do we want as a group to get together and go over goals and, establish kind of criteria for next school year? Through a work session, we're gonna do it in July or do it early August. July might be tough, I know a lot of people have a tremendous amount of things going on, so, we can set a date in July if we wanna wait till early August to do it, or if we wanna try to do something in July, we can do that as well. Part of my evaluation and then setting up goals for the next school year. Don't speak at the same time.
I vote August.
August. Okay, so we'll discuss it then at the, July board meeting. Just know that's coming on the horizon for a work session.
Okay, any other comments?
Kids, yeah.
More Saturday morning.
Oh, somebody made a comment about the Saturday morning. Oh, God. I was so disappointed.
Yeah.
Just for you.
Somebody
Who
scheduled it
got- yeah,
just for him.
They changed the schedule.
And I go up to Bowman's and there he is carrying pop out on his boat.
Oh.
And
And
she's
there it
down
is.
at some brewery.
I was planning on being out of town that weekend. I told him, I was going up north that weekend, that was my husband's plan, don't forget the beer and yogurt.
There's no guilt. Wow, I can't wait to post this online.
With that said, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Not yet, just quick question, how many roofs leak of the 3 or 4 buildings that we own, what roofs are leaking right now, what are we doing about it?
The high school down at the social studies is the only one that I'm aware of.
Stangel's room is the only one that we know of right now. Joe was having down in the senior high commons on the south side of the
So
building.
we got a tail under the floor, we got somebody trying to fix on it?
Uh,
What's happening?
The problem is that the drain sits too high, so the water has a chance to just collect there, and as we all know, if you leave water long enough, it'll find its way in usually. So I think Eric's got a plan for it, and they've got it fixed, I believe. So-
That's the part that didn't get done last summer.
Right.
Yeah.
It's on the southeast, south
South.
side of
Yeah.
it.
Church is watertight,
So far,
yeah,
Yeah.
elementary is watertight,
Ms. Johnson?
No.
I know we got a kindergarten room that, there's one,
Preschool room.
depending on the direction of the rain, and when it rains, a window has a leaky window seal. We try to figure out how we get that, we've sealed it, we've caulked it. All 4 used to leak, we got it down to 1, so now it's just trying to figure out what exactly we gotta do to get it stopped. But it's not a major leak, but we're still trying to figure out what.
That's one of the items we should have on our facilities meetings, if we ever do something, those, old aluminum windows that are still
Right,
on that, are from the original,
building,
well, the original building, but,
one of them.
yeah.
thank you.
I will say this about the leaks too, guys brought up, it was the same day that the legislatures walked through, so, and Carla was here for that day too, so. So we had them all,
It was a sunny day outside.
yeah, it's beautiful.
Don't laugh at the peanut gallery, come on.
Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I will make a motion.
Motion by Carla, second by Heather, any further discussion? And all those in favor say aye.